I went in and talked to the tax people today. I assumed, or I didn't say, I was sure that I had to file and this is going to be a big deal and I was going to owe a bunch for last year because I got the EDD money. But there's a new policy where they subtract $10,000 of value from what you got from EDD. And then the remaining is what you're liable for. And that puts me under the minimum, the $12,000 personal deduction to file. So I am not going to get hit with a big tax bill like I thought. But at the same time, I was also going to address the problem. I did talk to them about that, about them filing my taxes and the return getting rejected because of my father. And I still owe them for that. They told me to get a lawyer and handle it, and I became homeless in a Cincinnati winter in 2005. Like, yeah, I gotta worry about surviving. I never had a fucking chance in life. I didn't even get food stamps in college. And the little help I got from my parents, if I had gotten food stamps for the 5 years they claimed me as a dependent, that amount, just $220 times 60, exceeds everything they gave me in my adult life. And then beyond that, I saved throughout my childhood for college, and then I worked on outside jobs like at the Crystal Hamburger Place and Popeye's Chicken, and they confiscated a bunch of money from me, took my paychecks, and then later, right as soon as I was 18, they started charging me rent, and said all this money goes for college. They kept all that, every penny. And if any, except my grandmother gave me a $20 bill. And that's it for the whole family, the whole, from getting disowned for being a nigger lover. I have not had a conversation since that night. And that was the winter of 2003. Since then, I never had a conversation with another family member. Just my mother, father, and my mother's mother that lived in my father's apartment complex. He owned the apartments. And like, I worked there all the time, so I cut the grass and earned money and shit. And I confiscated that. And then the little portion that I get out of my own hard labor, I would do it and buy shit like a PlayStation, and then I would fight bloody wars over content for that. And memory cards was a whole multi-year fight, so I could save a game and pick up the story later on. And then they kept all that. Everything. And then the few, like my great aunt would send me some designer clothes for Christmas because everyone pitied me and they knew just how bad it was. Like I learned that later with all the other adults and the extended family, like they pitied me. Like people looked out for me and tried to help me because they knew how abusive my parents were. And I understand that now. Like the school offering to buy me clothes in middle school. But my parents kept all that. Everything anyone gave me, everything. Like my uncle gave me $300 for a college fund, I know, and had me invest it in the stock market. My parents just took all that, kept all that. And I would have been better off just not having them claim me a dependent and get $220 a month for 60 months for those 5 years. I didn't get any food stamps for, and that, and another year, after I quit college, I still didn't know about food stamps and get food stamps, and then finally got it. I was like, yo, this would have helped when I was starving in college and the ramen noodles were killing me. Yeah. And then everything I learned just doesn't matter because the world, what I learned about civil rights and the way the law works, it just doesn't fucking matter. It's not the truth. There's two classes in America, and if you're a subclass, the law doesn't apply to you. You think because the Americans with Disabilities Act gives rights to people, that includes you, you're not a person. You're an animal. It's just all a fucking waste. And I'm in huge debt because I borrowed a bunch of money for college. And aside from all that, my goddamn parents installed me as the head of one of their shell corporations. And I have no idea what the total damages are for that. But the one time it ever came up, he showed the police old paperwork for the company, GoMax Limited Partnership in Kentucky, that he was in charge of the company to get my car out of impound and steal my car. And I had to call the cops on him and report him for Grand Theft Auto and fucking threaten him. And the cops stopped him. And, he's got a gun and a military ID and shit. He's like, fuck off. And the cops let him go, having stolen a car and threatened my life, beat me in a fucking gas station parking lot on the same day. And then he comes to my apartment and gives me my own car back that was in the company name that I controlled, he shouldn't have had. And I interrupted the investigation for the kidnapping with a horde tricked-old me in Cincinnati. And this is all 2000. Clearly he's treating me like shit because he disowned me for being a nigger lover already. He wasn't helping me at all, and life's a bitch. Oh man, it just gets to be too much. And that was the last time I ever saw him. And then that was in November. And then I worked all year the next year. All fucking year. Overtime and shit at a gas station, working third shift. And then I went and filed my taxes, and I was going to get a nice little refund. And I still wasn't getting food stamps at that point. And then the return got rejected because he forcibly claimed me as a dependent. And the minimum to claim someone as a dependent is $4,000 and 6 months of housing. And I spent some of the time homeless and all of the time in a shithole with no furniture. That's the year I didn't have furniture. I had a mattress laid down in the bedroom and a TV stand with a 12-inch TV on it and aluminum foil on the wall for an antenna. That's a wrap. No chairs, no kitchen table, nothing. And then he claims me as a dependent. I paid for all that myself. And he claims he gave me that money and stole fucking everything from me. And then abused his authority. Yeah, I control that company and I might owe who knows what for taxes with that and failure to file state and federal returns, but I'll never know. Like, I didn't fucking control any of that shit. And then he took the car. The one time I was like, no, that's my car. Do not give it to him. The police let my father cancel the investigation into my kidnapping across state lines. We went over into Kentucky to go to my apartment and went back into Ohio and Cincinnati and went to get shit for them to make money. It's a death penalty case. And my father's like, it's cool. Don't fuck it. We don't care. And I identified the dude later on and everything. There's nothing I can do. The rich get richer. During that time period where he was lying to the government saying he fucking provided housing and money for me, he didn't, and he was building a second house. And wait till you guys... I've never seen the current house. That'll be a surprise for me. And it probably won't be as impressive as the old one. But the lot is huge. And, we have private orchards on our fucking lot that I fucking planted, working like a fucking slave, I'm working like a slave so bad that random strangers, including a black set, there was a couple of black people, black man and woman, that would stop and come onto our property and come up to me and ask me why a child was working like that. And that's not a one-time thing. That's people have commented over and over. They worked me like a fucking field nigger and beat me like one too. And then kicked me to the fucking curb. And the reason he had to build another house is the first one was too damn big for them to get. My father couldn't walk up the stairs anymore to the bed. There's three entire stories of stairs to get from the driveway to the bedroom. Life is such a bitch, and all because of Republican dimwits, just like is running the country right now. The same group of people. My mother's victim of the QAnon shit, I already know that. She's a fucking idiot with 5G conspiracy theory. Her husband is an electrical engineer, and they both go around telling people that cell phones give you cancer. Oh, my father went to college on a basketball scholarship as an absolute fucking moron. He's a he's 6'9", and he's a white guy, and they loved him, so they fucking just gave him A's for shit. And he's dumb as a box. He's the Dunning-Kruger effect. He's a fucking moron. This bitch can't even cook. She's an English major, all right? Her college degree is an English major, and she's so stupid she doesn't know what basic words mean. We were arguing about socialism one time, and this is after I went to college for a political science degree. And I'm like, hey, you know what the biggest socialist program, bar none, beyond all others, is? Well, it's what's responsible for your husband and your brother and your uncle and your father and your husband's father and all these people's careers. Yeah, well, it's the military. The military is far and away the biggest socialist program. And the stupid fucking cunt laughs in my face and says, that's not true. The military has never done anything for free. That's a verbatim quote from an English major. You stupid fucking cunt. Here's what's the definition of socialism? Taking money from the community and paying people to do shit. That's basically, break it all down, that's the way socialism and communism, or the communism side of the spectrum, this is socialism. Communism is where the government actually takes control of the companies, which is what I support. But anyway, taking money from everyone in the country and combine that money together and pay the group of people known as the military to do what they do. And that's a gross oversimplification, but yeah, that is socialism. A dude in Iowa walking down the street is under protection of the military, which is funded by us all. That's social. That's the almost obvious 101. If you fucking know anything about the English language, that can't be argued with. But an English major will argue with you and be like, no, the military doesn't do anything for free. They can't be socialists. And they're like Trump, too. They inherited everything from their parents and just had whatever. Just ridiculous. Like, there's a NASCAR track on our property sitting in the bushes. Just, that got fucked off. Not once, but twice in my life. They have spare, like, country stores, like the country version of a Walmart. Something, like maybe 5 times bigger than a Dollar General. And they have a couple of places like that are just, hundreds of thousands of dollars of potential capitalization wasted. And they have a ton of liabilities. And my father's an idiot that wants to own all the land because he's an old country redneck. And he doesn't understand that the land's just liability if it's not turning in any revenue. In a bunch of cases, he ended up losing tons and tons of money. Tons and tons more, enough for 10 people to live for the rest of their life without any question. He's all lost just to maintain control of the land. And then he ended up losing some of that in adverse possession case because there was poor people in southern Kentucky that built shelter and moved in trailers and settled on his land out in the middle of fucking nowhere, and he came in like, nah, bulldoze the fucking families. I don't give a fuck. That's my land. Kill them. The kings, specifically. The kings from southern Kentucky. And they won in court. They're like, look, it's his land, and we're taking it from him and giving it to you because he ain't doing shit with it, and your family lives there. Like multi-generational, like maybe a dozen people. I remember I've been there. Maybe 3 trailers. And the road to access, the only road that goes out there to it, that road exists as a logging road. It was made as a logging road so the company could get timber out from my father's land and pay him lots of money for it, which is how he was paying the taxes to keep some of the land to begin with. And it made a community out there, which might actually drive up real estate values and help him, but he's too dumb to see that. He's like, no, he bought a fucking bulldozer. Like, they had to stop him from destroying this family's home. They had to fucking stop him. It's like, no, Scrooge McDuck, straight up, or what's the one from The Nightmare Before Christmas, or Christmas Carol one, whatever. It's that bad. Like, he doesn't. And here's one last one. I'll end on this one. My father had a biological, not me, his own family, biological relative, an aunt or something, in southern Kentucky that went crazy because her house burned down and I think it was 2 children burned alive in the house, and she saw the bodies smoking like a sausage, like cooked baby, and she went crazy and ended up on drugs and shit and blah blah blah. And my father's actually the one that pulled him out. He didn't give a fuck. He's like, throw him in the trash, whatever. He didn't even. He did more child killing and later. He wasn't concerned. But we ran into her going down there to check on our property one time, and she like climbed up on the outside of the van and was hanging on like a crack monkey, and he threw packages of crackers out the window on the ground to distract her and get her off the van so we could drive off, and told me about all the other shit I just said. And then he complained about losing the crackers. It's like, fuck, those were good crackers. I like those crackers. That's his blood relative. Bitch is flaky. Yeah, she watched her family burn alive and held the charred corpses of her children, and you were there. And he's like, so, bitch is weak. Fuck her. She shouldn't even get the crackers. Fuck her. That's a Republican for you. That's Charles Dewey Wood of Somerset, Kentucky. Worthless pieces of fucking shit.